There is a type of person who seems to live in their own time zone, where the hands of the clock turn slower just for them. You certainly know someone like this, that friend who always arrives when the party is already in full swing, the coworker who shows up at the meeting when others are already discussing the latest topics, or even yourself, racing against time as if he were an implacable opponent. While most strive to be punctual, these out-of-touch souls turn being late into a kind of personal signature. But what is behind this habit that irritates some and fascinates others? Is it just carelessness, or is there a complex psychology hidden in the wasted minutes? Before judging, it's important to say, being late is not necessarily a character defect. Yes, it could be a question of organization, but it could also be a reflection of how that person sees the world, time, and even themselves. There are those who say that punctuality is the courtesy of kings, but what if, for some, being late is a silent form of rebellion against other people's expectations? Or perhaps a way of testing the limits of others' patience, as if to say, you wait for me because I'm worth it. We're not talking about deliberate disrespect, but a pattern of behavior that, when analyzed closely, reveals surprising layers of personality. To better understand, it is worth exploring the possible roots of this habit. Maybe it all starts in childhood, when the concept of time is still abstract and the rules are flexible. Children raised in environments where schedules were not rigid may internalize the idea that time is elastic, something that adapts to the needs of the moment. 5 minutes can mean half an hour, and I'll be right there turns into code for I'm still getting ready. Over time, this distorted notion solidifies, and the adult starts to live at their own pace, where commitments are always in a little while. But there is also a deeper psychological dimension. Some people arrive late because, deep down, they fear what comes next. Delay can be a way of postponing the inevitable, a tense meeting, an uncomfortable encounter, or even success, which brings with it new responsibilities. It's as if, by delaying their own arrival, they gain a few extra minutes of control over a situation that would otherwise overwhelm them. Psychologist Alfred Adler already talked about the secondary benefit of behaviors. Sometimes, being late is not about the clock, but about what it allows you to avoid. Another possibility is that these people are chronic multitaskers, so absorbed in doing several things at once that they lose track of how long each task actually takes. They start to get ready, respond to a message, remember something they forgot, go back to get it, and so time slips through their fingers like sand. For them, the world is a place so full of stimuli that focusing on just one thing, like leaving the house on time, seems like an impossible mission. The delay in this case is not intentional, but a byproduct of a mind that never stops. And then there are those for whom being late is a power issue. Not in a malicious way, but as a subtle affirmation that your priorities are more important than those of others. It's a way of saying, my time is valuable, and if you're waiting for me, it's because I deserve it. It may sound arrogant, but it is often just a self-defense mechanism, a way to compensate for fragile self-esteem. If others have to wait, it's because, deep down, they know they're worth it. But we cannot ignore that, in some cases, chronic delay hides unresolved anxiety. The fear of not being enough, of not being prepared, of being judged. Arriving late can be an excuse to not have to face these insecurities head-on. It's easier to blame the traffic than to admit that the fear of failure. It's paralyzing. And so, the lost minutes become a shield against one's own expectations. Interestingly, there is also a cultural dimension to this behavior. In some societies, punctuality is seen as a supreme virtue, while in others, time is more fluid, and being on time can mean hours later than agreed. Anyone who grew up in an environment where the clock didn't dictate the rules can take this flexibility to other contexts, even if they require precision. It's not a lack of education, but rather a difference in perspective on what time represents. And what about those who arrive late because, deep down, they don't want to be there? It could be a boring dinner, a social obligation, or a commitment that they accepted out of politeness, but that, secretly, they would prefer to avoid. Delay becomes a form of passive resistance, a way of showing, even if unconsciously, that they are not fully engaged. It's as if the body says what the mouth can't, I didn't want to come. But not everything is negative. There are those who see delay as a philosophy of life. For these people, rushing is synonymous with losing the essence of things. They prefer to savor the journey, even if it means arriving when others are already at the table. After all, what is more important, sticking to a schedule or living each moment fully? In this sense, the delay can be a declaration that life should not be measured only in minutes, but in experiences. Arriving late, for them, means arriving on time. If you recognized yourself in these lines, know that there is nothing wrong with living at a different pace. The world may demand punctuality, but that doesn't mean you need to fit into a mold that doesn't make sense for you. Maybe your problem with schedules is actually a refusal to let the clock control your life. And that, in a world obsessed with productivity and efficiency, can be an act of silent resistance. But if your delay has caused conflicts or real losses, it's worth reflecting. What do these extra minutes really represent? Fear, rebellion, distraction, or simply a way of being? Recognizing the pattern is the first step in deciding whether it still serves you. After all, time waits for no one, but the way we use it can say a lot about who we are. And you, how do you deal with time? Do you always arrive on time, or do you always run against the clock? Comment below, and if you know someone who is always late, share this text with them. Who knows, maybe she'll discover something new about herself. And if you liked this reflection, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, and may you always arrive on time, or your time. Time is not a clock, it's a dance, and you can choose the music. Have you ever stopped to think that time is not a straight line, but a spiral? While society insists on dividing life into 60-minute boxes, some souls, like you, perhaps feel time like a melody, not like a metronome. What if your chronic tardiness isn't a flaw, but an art form? Imagine, the world works like an orchestra where everyone follows the same score, but you hear a different symphony. The clock hands are like traditional musicians, playing in the expected rhythm. You, however, dance to the beat of intuition, sometimes early, sometimes late, but always in your own time. What if this isn't a problem, but a superpower in disguise? What your personal clock reveals about you. Your delays can be emotional maps. Let's decipher them. 1. The silent rebel. Arriving on time means following rules that don't make sense to question. Hidden trait, you distrust rigid systems and, without even realizing it, test limits not out of stubbornness, but out of a need for authenticity. The clock, for you, is a symbol of control, and being late is a small daily revolution. 2. The dreamer in transit. I left on time, but the path distracted me. A sunset, a song, a thought. Hidden trait, your mind lives in multiple dimensions. While others see a street, you see stories, possibilities, connections. Delay is, in fact, an invitation to live more slowly in a fast-paced world. 3. The emotional timekeeper. I arrive when I'm ready, not when the clock says. Hidden trait, you prioritize energy over punctuality. If a date requires you to be 100%, showing up early would be faking a version of yourself. Your internal clock doesn't tell time, it tells emotions. 4. The unconscious saboteur. I'm always late for important things, and I don't know why. Hidden trait, there may be a hidden fear of success, exposure, or not living up to it. Delay becomes a shield. If I'm late, I don't need to face them head on. And that's not your fault, it's a protective mechanism you've learned to use. The science behind your flex time. Neuroscientists discovered that people with non-linear time perception have greater creativity. The brain makes non-standard connections, hence you forget the time. Lower control anxiety, you flow with life, instead of fighting against it. A unique relationship with dopamine, your pleasure doesn't come from meeting deadlines, but from exploring possibilities. In other words, your problem could actually be a sign that your brain is wired to a different frequency. How to turn your flaw into a superpower. If your delays have already caused conflict, here's the secret. Don't change your pace, own it. 1. Create buffer zones. Instead of fighting your internal clock, adapt the world to it. Do you always arrive 30 minutes early? Plan to leave 1 hour early and use that extra time for something you love, a coffee, a podcast, a breather. Thus, punctuality becomes a gift to yourself, not a prison. 2. Invent your own time system. Swap schedules for emotional milestones. I'll leave when I feel light. I will respond to this email when my mind is clear. Tip: use alarms with messages like transition time instead of "you're late." 3. Communicate your pace to others. Phrases like, "I function best with flexibility. Can I arrive 15 minutes later? It will take me a while, but when I arrive, I will be 100% present." Effect: people start to respect your time, not judge it. 4. Celebrate your unique temporality. Make a list. Amazing things that only happened because I didn't follow the clock. Example: I met my best friend because I stopped to help a stranger and I was late. I had my best idea in the wasted time between one meeting and another. The world needs people like you. Think of the geniuses who redefined time. Einstein said that time is an illusion. Dalí painted melted clocks. Frida Kahlo lived at her own pace, even when the world demanded haste. They weren't late. They were tuned to another frequency. An invitation to rewrite your rules. Today, do this exercise. 1. Take a watch, or open your cell phone. 2. Close your eyes and breathe. 3. Ask yourself, if I could reinvent time, what would it be like? Would it be circular? Spiral? A river that flows leisurely? 4. Write down the first image that comes to mind. This is your true relationship with time. And now, the question that doesn't want to be silenced. If you could live in a world where time was measured by emotions instead of hours, what would it be like? 9 a.m. would be the hour of inspiration. Lunch would be the moment of reconnect ion. The night would be the waking dream phase. Comment here. How would you rename the hours of your day? And if you know someone who needs to read this, share it. Who knows, maybe they'll find out that your delay is, in fact, your own rhythm. Oh, and if you love these out-of-the-box reflections, activate the bell so you don't miss the next insights. Because in the end, life isn't about being on time, it's about being on time. Until next time, or rather, until the next moment that makes sense. Sparkles. The time you don't see, but that moves you in secret. Have you ever noticed how some people walk slowly in a fast-paced world? It's not laziness. It's not sloppy. It's as if they hear an internal song that the rest of us don't hear, a melody that says, "It's not time yet. Hold on. Breathe." What if I told you that this delay is, in fact, an ancestral rhythm? A beat that does not follow the clock, but rather the tides of the body, the cycles of the moon, or even the silencing of an inner voice that knows, some things cannot be rushed. The clock versus the rhythm, an invisible battle. Stop and think, when was the last time you did something on your own time, without guilt? Breakfast swallowed in 5 minutes. The automatic yes to an invitation you didn't want. The quick response on WhatsApp, even when your mind asked for silence. Society rewards speed. But what if slowness was actually a form of resistance? A way of saying, I refuse to live in fragments. I choose the whole. There's a tribe in the Amazon that doesn't have a word for backward. For them, time is not a straight line to be followed, but a river that meanders, sometimes wide, sometimes narrow, but always in the right flow. What if they are right? What your delay is trying to tell you. Do this exercise now. Yes, stop everything for 30 seconds. 1. Think about the last time you felt late. Was it really about hours, or about fear of not being enough? Was it about the clock, or about the pressure of meeting other people's expectations? 2. Now ask yourself, if I could live a day without a watch, what would it be like? What parts of me wake up when no one is looking at the minute hand? Write down the first image that comes to you. This is your true relationship with time, not the one you were taught, but the one you know in your bones. The revolution of the uncompassed. Do you know who else disobeyed the clock? Einstein, who had flexible schedules and said, the only reason for time is so that everything doesn't happen at once. Frida Kahlo, who painted at dawn because the night was her ally, not an enemy. The Japanese, with the concept of ma, the empty space between things, which is not empty, but full of meaning. They weren't slow. They were tuned to another frequency. What if your lateness was actually a refusal to participate in a race you never wanted to run? The invitation, for those who are reading this and feel a chill. Today, break a time rule. Arrive 10 minutes later, no excuses. Leave a message unanswered, the world will not end. Eat a meal in silence, chewing each bite as if it were the first time. And then, ask yourself, what would my life be like if I stopped fighting my own rhythm? The question that will haunt you, in a good way. If time wasn't measured in hours, but in emotions, discoveries, and small miracles, what would your day be like? 7 a.m. time to listen to the silence before the world wakes up. 12 p.m. time to enjoy food as if it were your last meal. 6 p.m. instant to look at the sky and remember that you are part of this movement. Comment here, how would you rename the hours of your day? And if you know someone who needs to read this today, that friend who is always late but has the best stories, share. Maybe he just needs to know that his timing is perfect. What nobody tells you about weather. In the end, life is not about managing minutes. It's about honoring the moments that transform us, whether they're as quick as the blink of an eye or children or slow as the growth of a tree. What if your lateness is actually life's way of telling you to pay attention to what really matters? Until next time, or rather, until the next moment that makes sense to you. Herb. P.S. If this text touched you, activate the bell so you don't miss the next reflections. Because here, we don't follow the clock, we follow what needs to be said. The time clocks don't fit, and why that's a blessing. Imagine if, instead of hours, the world measured time in intensities. Not 3 p.m., but the time when the smell of coffee mixed with your grandmother's laughter. Not 10 p.m., but the moment you finally understood that you don't have to be perfect, just present. Clocks would lie less. And we would live longer. But here comes the question that hurts and heals. What would you do if time wasn't a race, but a dance? A dance where some steps are slow, like waiting for a hug after a fight, others are fast, like the seconds before a kiss, and others simply stop, when you look at the sea and forget that tomorrow exists. The human clock versus the mechanical clock. The problem is not time. It's just that we confuse the pointers. The wall clock says, you are late. Your internal clock whispers, but you are exactly where you need to be. The agenda screams, 1 hour left until the meeting. Your soul responds, but what about the time you spent watching the sunset yesterday? That was important. What if your lateness is not laziness, but a form of sacred resistance? The body knows, when we push too hard a rhythm that isn't ours, something breaks inside. A headache here, exhaustion there, an urge to cry for no reason. These are all signs that you are living in the wrong time. The 3 types of time nobody teach you. 1. Chronos time, that of clocks. It's linear, cold, divides life into productive and lost. Phrase he repeats, run, otherwise you won't be able to. 2. Kairos time, of opportunities. It's the perfect moment, the one that cannot be forced. Example, the silence between 2 people who love each other and don't need to talk. Phrase he whispers, wait. Now. 3. Aeon time, that of eternity within the ephemeral. It's when a second expands, like when you hold someone's hand for the first time. Or when an hour disappears, like the sleepless nights after a breakup. Phrase he sings, this is not time. This is life. Dangerous, but necessary. Question. How many times have you traded a kairos for a chronos? How many times have you missed a dinner with friends because you had to go to bed early to work? How many times have you postponed the hug because it wasn't time? The quality time paradox. We talk a lot about spending quality time, but quality time isn't something you do with time, it's something time does to you. Low quality time, those hours you spend scrolling through your feed, but don't remember anything afterwards. High quality time, when you wash the dishes and suddenly remember a song you heard when you were 12, and it makes you smile all to yourself. Cruel and beautiful, secret. Quality is not in what you do, but in how you allow yourself to feel while you do it. How to steal time back, without being a thief. 1. Disobey 1 pointer a day. Arrive late on purpose. See what happens. Spoiler, the world doesn't end. And you, perhaps, will breathe easier. 2. Create expanded time rituals. Have a coffee without your cell phone, just looking out the window. Walk slowly counting your steps, you will notice things you have never seen on the same street. 3. Do an emotional audit of your day. Write down, today, in what moments did I feel alive? If the list is short, change something tomorrow. 4. Give permission for wasted time. Those 20 minutes lying on the floor looking at the ceiling? They are not lost. They are sacred. The brain needs creative leisure to solve problems that logic cannot solve. The only question about time that matters. It's not how do I have more time, but what kind of time do I want to live in? A time full of tasks but empty of meaning? A slow time, but where every second has weight? A chaotic time, but where you feel fully present? Honest answer, that no one wants to hear. You already have all the time you need. What's missing is the courage to use it the way your body and soul ask. The invitation that you can accept now. Today, break a time rule. If you always eat lunch quickly, chew slowly. Feel the taste. If you always sleep late, go to bed early and read a paper book, without a screen. If you always say, I don't have time, write an hour on the calendar just for you, guilt-free. And then tell me, what was it like to rebel against the pointers? To reflect and share. Time is not gold. Time is the fabric we use to stitch our lives together. Some stitches are tight. Others are loose. But in the end, what matters is not how long it lasted, but what pattern you created. If this made sense to you. White heavy checkmark comment here. When was the last moment you stopped time, even for 30 seconds? White heavy checkmark share with those who are always racing against the clock. Maybe they just need permission to stop. White heavy checkmark save this text to read the next time life's timer gets too tight. Until next time, or rather, until the next Kairos. Hourglass with flowing sand sparkles. P.S. If you've made it this far, it's because something in this text resonated. This is no coincidence. It's the universe reminding you, your time is yours. Don't let anyone, not even you, steal it.